we're going to discuss about Bitcoin's Craftsman, a tale of hammer and chisel, machine and assembly line. Please welcome Nicolas Dorier.
Hi. So, hello everybody. When Matthias asked me to talk in this conference, he was telling me that I don't have to talk about BTC Pay server. Here I am. So I decided to take the challenge. It's difficult to do this because every day my work is on BTC Pay server, but I'm here to talk to you about my journey as what I call Bitcoin Craftsman, how it started and where it's going. The main things I want to do is to get more developers coming in this area. Maybe it will inspire some developers to come, learn from my mistake, and advertise in a way my open source work, because I know that today is the industry day, and I think some business might be interested to use that. And having more entrepreneur. Actually, it's not really entrepreneur I want, it's more local entrepreneur, and I will tell you why after. So before Bitcoin, so it was not 2024, actually, it was 2014. I was a Bitcoin, I was a Microsoft certified trainer. So basically my life was just going in France, city to city to teach about Microsoft technologies in companies. And this was cool, but sometimes I had to work and to go to do these trainings, and sometimes I had to stay at home because maybe there was no training, and so I had time to polish my skills, playing Counter-Strike, and passing some certification to do more. And I was writing also lots of community articles on a website that is called Code Projects. Actually, for those who know Rockstar Dev was also writing there. So it's the first time we met, I would say. And then this happened, like the MTGOX crash. And I think everything is good for Bitcoin and those crash, except for people that got their money stuck there, because it's how I discovered Bitcoin. And I was thinking, why do people are buying a stupid money that can be minted by a startup? For me, I thought that MTGOX was a startup minting Bitcoin. But by reading more, I go on this website that was Bitcoin Talk. Who knows Bitcoin Talk here? Just to... Oh yeah, there is a bunch of Fuji, actually. So yeah, Bitcoin Talk was kind of broad Bitcoin forum. And the nice thing there, some people were completely crushed about losing their money on MTGOX, but they kept buying Bitcoin. And to me, it was okay, Bitcoin isn't dead. How could that be? And I think for lots of you that are now working in Bitcoin, this is maybe the question that got you here today. And how could that be? It gets you into the rabbit hole of why Bitcoin is there. And on my time, I had lots of time on my disposal, thanks to my work I was doing. I did not have girlfriend, I did not have kid, I had lots of savings. I was working as a trainer, it was well paid, so I didn't have lots of difficulties. I was living at my parents' house, so almost no expenses. So it was kind of a good timing for me to get red-pilled without stress. And so my journey started to, actually not coding, my journey started to why Satoshi did that. What is money, what is banking? First time I hear about libertarianism, I didn't know it was a word before. And once I became convinced about the motivation of Satoshi, I said, OK, I will start learning about Bitcoin, technically speaking, and thus start my life as a Bitcoin craftsman. For those who don't know, so NBitcoin is a .NET library that is the biggest .NET library for working on Bitcoin. And you might think that when I started NBitcoin, I saw a need in the community for a .NET library, but it's not how that happens. Like, NBitcoin was not developed for any need. It was just like a way for me to learn about Bitcoin, because what I cannot code, I cannot understand. So it was just basically like technical note for me. And it's incredibly liberating as a coder when you code something that you know nobody is going to use. Obviously, I was wrong about that, but I could fix it later. But like, I started this library to learn about Bitcoin. I code for myself, and the fact that you don't expect anybody to use it is kind of liberating in the sense that you code for coding. You don't code for anybody else. You code for the intrinsic reason of coding is coding, and it makes it possible to reach what we call the state of flow, where you don't see the time passing by and you can learn very effectively. And the library kind of grew, and I had lots of different questions. What is base 58? What is a Bitcoin address? What is a script pub key? What is address? Like, what is a private key? Like, how can I mine with a CPU? And for all of these questions, like, the answer needed to be in code. So I was just writing the code and see how far I go. And those questions was just the start. Actually, today, there is still many questions that I still don't have the answer to, and I need to learn about. But my time is kind of limited, so I need to pick my battle. And those kind of questions are pretty fixed. So if you learn now about Bitcoin, this won't change. But as you know more and more about Bitcoin and more you are at the state of the art, like most of your knowledge can become obsolete pretty fast. So there is still lots of questions, but I'm learning more slowly on this. Then after I reply to all those questions, I say, OK, maybe it can interest somebody. So I put it together inside a library that is called NBitcoin. And I announced it on a website, on Bitcoin Talk. So it was April 17, 2014, so quite a while. And yeah, that's how I started. Another project I work on is NBitcoin SecP 256.1. So this library, so for those who don't know, SecP 256K1 is a library maintained by Peter Will, Andrew Polstra, Tim Riffin, and Jonas Nick. And they are kind of state-of-the-art cryptographer. And actually, when they talk to me, I cannot really follow what they're saying. Like, it's way above my pay grades. But the nice thing with them is that everything that they are excited about, they write code. And I can read code. So to understand them, I created this library as well that is a port of their library in C#, just to understand what they are working on. Because I know that when those guys are excited about something, it's something important. So yeah, that's why I started doing this library. And same thing, it's becoming like kind of the base of NBitcoin. And I learned lots of things, what is music too, and what is adapter signature, for example. I learned by really replicating what they're doing. So NBitcoin is kind of like a hammer. It's very flexible. You can do whatever you want with it. But at the end of the day, it's just a hammer. And you have lots of work to do. So as an example, so this is a difficult example of the NBitcoin library. I'm missing one line to get the change address. But for example, you need to get two pieces of data in this code, the coins that you want to spend in a transaction and the private keys. And how do you get that? Actually, it's a difficult question. How do you get this data? At the time, to get this data, you had several ways. You have public block explorers, so block cipher, blockchain.info, it was blockchain.info at the time, insights, or you have like private server with Bitcoin Core and Electrum. So you have these two choices. And I I was very interested into Public Block Explorer, but the problem is that Public Block Explorer were kind of throttling you if you were using too much their API and asking you lots of money to use it. So I started doing my own Public Block Explorer. So it's called nbitcoin.indexer, and after it was also named Qubit Ninja. And the nice idea was like I could have several machines indexing the whole blockchain inside Azure table, inside Azure storage. So it was you could very efficiently query all the data of the blockchain directly on Azure. It was great, but actually Azure was kind of throttling me as well, and it was kind of slow to index everything. So it was very costly. Actually, at the end, in 2017, I think it was costing me like 200 euro per month. So it was kind of costly. It's not everybody that can host it. And heavy because you need to index everything. It was taking, at the time in 2017, it was taking 2 weeks, I think, to index everything. So like already it was taking too much time. But most importantly, it doesn't scale with too many addresses. So if you have a wallet with 10,000 addresses, that is very common for a business, then this approach will not scale because your request will be way too big for that. So another time, I was interested into a project that was called Tumblebit. It was a non-custodial mixer. And it was before Wasabi Wallet was cool. And during this project, I said, OK, I will try to take another approach. Instead of using Block Explorer, I will try to rely directly on Bitcoin Core wallets. And Bitcoin Core wallet was horrible. Like, I have lots of respect for Bitcoin Core, but like the API was very cumbersome. I needed to spend lots of time doing a hack for doing something that should be very simple. It was inflexible, because when you want a new feature on it, you need to make your case on GitHub, open an issue, and like discuss for months to get it done. And it was not built with BIP39 in mind. That was kind of the standard of the industry at the time. So it was very painful experience. Maybe now it's better. Like there has been lots of work on a Bitcoin Core wallet, so maybe it's better. But yeah, at the time it was pain. So I decided to create a new project that will be better than Bitcoin Core for the wallet API, but that will not require heavy lifting, such as required by the public blockchain. This was called nbExplorer. But actually, nbExplorer is the name I gave later. The true history of nbExplorer, so this UTXO tracker, wallet tracker, call it how you want, actually it was a project that issued from elements from Blockstream, that is kind of a fork of Liquid to make things simple. And in my company I am working on, I'm working in Digital Garage. We were making a multi-asset wallet for elements. And I was taking care of the backend. And so the nbExplorer was called at the time Element Explorer. So it was really for Liquid. And to this day, nbExplorer supports Liquid for this reason. Initially, it was not a Bitcoin project, actually. But 2017, there was a block war, and I wanted to create BTC Pay. And actually, it was very easy to fork this Element Explorer into an Explorer that became Bitcoin only at the time. The backend was in NoSQL, a kind of custom database I did. It was a terrible idea. Then in 5 years later, like the backend became Postgre, and I will tell you why it's good. So basically, if you have your Bitcoin business, what's going on is that you are building on top. You can build on top of nbExplorer, and nbExplorer is relying as well on Bitcoin Core for something like downloading the blocks. And other projects like BTC Pay or your own Bitcoin business can depend on nbExplorer. So a very famous service that uses it, for example, is Bitrefill. So if you know Bitrefill, you can buy like a gift card on their website. Like they are relying on nbExplorer to process the deposits and things like this. There is many exchanges as well that rely on it. And why it's cool, why nbExplorer is cool, why they choose it, is that one thing, you can query your wallet directly in SQL. That is very tailored for doing queries. It works with BIP32, that is a state-of-the-art to create a wallet. It works with millions of EGXO, millions of addresses, no problem, and it works on prune node. So you don't need a big infrastructure to make it run. So NBix Pro is kind of better like a machine. Like it's really, you try to make a business, you make your factory, and like NBix Pro is kind of a machine inside your factory that you use for processing, but it's just one part of your business. So it's more than a hammer. It's more than a hammer. It's a factory, I would say, a capital good for your business. Then came BTC Pay Server. So I said I will not talk about BTC Pay Server. Actually, I was lying, and now I can talk about that. So BTC Pay Server, I will not go too far. It's the first project that was for consumer, I would say Bitcoin consumer, that normal people know about. And I will not go through the history of it, because there is a fantastic documentary made by Parker. And I advise you to look at it. You can search it on the internet, My Trust in You in Broken, that will explain the story behind it. We were focusing on merchants, and we find out that there is something that we need to improve. Business without technical knowledge, there is a lot of business without technological knowledge that we cannot reach, because installing BTC Pay Server is kind of technical a little bit. And there is a lot of open-minded business that are happy to have Bitcoin, but that needs somebody to handle them. And retail business, we are almost no retail business is using us, and we want to improve that. So to try to fix this situation, I started working on a project that was called Hack Zero. So you can still use it now. I'm still maintaining it. So it's a kind of operating system that runs on Rock Pro 64. So it's kind of like a Raspberry Pi. You can build it yourself, or you can buy it pre-built on so gobrew.me. They are selling it, for example. Or you can just do it by yourself. But we find out that retail shops are too busy to play with this. For them, it's a toy. It's not really their business. Setting up this doesn't work. Retail shops don't really care about freedom money. They care about money. Which is a good motivation, but you cannot change their mind on that. And actually, lots of businesses are open to accept Bitcoin. The only thing, they want a company to call if there is a problem. And they want to receive, most of the time, they want to receive USD and not Bitcoin. So this is lots of problem. And I decided the new focus of BTC Pay, we are still focusing on merchant, of course, but our new focus is like to reach those local businesses that are not really Bitcoiners. We need to try to empower what I call local entrepreneur or ambassador. Sometimes I call them Bitcoin service provider, that are kind of local communities around the world that have the Bitcoin knowledge and that are able to reach those retail business. And we want to provide them with business model or business venue that they can use to get stream of income by proposing Bitcoin service. So that's what we are working on right now. Basically, we are trying to onboard the onboarders. So there is a small video. I don't know if you can play it now. Can you play the video? Yes. OK. Do you see it? No, yes. No, yes. Wow, that's OK. Can you play the video? No, no. OK. Well, I will continue. It's OK. So the video I wanted to show you, it's a video that was made by Parker that was explaining this new focus to ambassadors. And what we are doing is basically our master plan is that we identify some revenue opportunities for those local ambassadors, and we try to deploy it ourselves. And we test it in prod by ourselves. And once we did it, we kind of communicated to the whole community by doing case studies around it. And we identified the pain points of that. And we tried to polish and give it to the ambassador. So if you're interested, so for example, two case study that we wrote was a case study in Bitcoin Atlantis that is a Bitcoin conference, where we provided Bitcoin payment for everybody, for all the merchants in the conference, and for attendants to pay with bolt cards very easy during the conference, and Baltic on Niger. And Baltic on Niger, we did the same thing. So we did case study. You can find them on their blog. So what I want to say is that BTC Pay Server is kind of like an assembly line. You take it, you install it on your premise, and then it's starting like creating Bitcoin service that you can sell to customers. So that's why I call it Bitcoin an assembly line. And a typical example of that is, for example, LNPay that today is providing payments. Actually, they started as a fork of BTC Pay Server. And we really encourage business to do the same. Fork BTC Pay Server, try to make a business out of it, and try to onboard locally. Because we are open source developer, it's not our focus to do the onboarding ourselves. So we try to onboard the onboarders. So yeah, there is lots of what I call intellectual capital in Bitcoin. Lots of code has been written. The difference with physical capital that you find in factories is that intellectual capital, many people can use it, no problem. And it scales. And I think what we really need is not more intellectual capital. We need like local entrepreneurs, people that are on the field, like ready to handhold people, local merchants to take advantage of Bitcoin. And our goal is to make sure that you have some profit incentive doing that. So that's all I wanted to say, and thanks a lot.